and welcome to Red, White, and Views, brought to you by Now Habersham. I'm Hazel Cording, and I have in the studio with me Clarkesville City Council Post 4 candidates Leigh Johnston and Rick Coulon. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you.
It's good to have you. Rick, did I pronounce that properly?
You said it perfectly.
Great, because I've really been practicing that. I mispelled it. Mispronounced it recently, and someone told me that's not correct.
I don't take offense.
Good. So both of you have chosen to put your hat in the ring for this race, and I want to congratulate you on that, because it takes a lot to do that, and a lot of people sit back and they complain all the time about what's going on, but they choose not to step up and do anything about it. So I want to congratulate you both on that and wish you luck on your campaign and your race here. This is just a very casual setting here. I expect you to be conversational and respectful. We don't want any mudslinging between the two of you. You seem very reasonable and polite, and I heard y'all laughing in the lobby, so I think we'll be okay along that front. Like I said, it's just a conversation, so it's not a debate. I do have a few things that I want to bring up and ask you about, things that people have asked me about here in Clarkesville. I don't live in Clarkesville, so I had to rely on other people and asking them what's important to them. I do work in Clarkesville. I visit here. I come to activities here. And I love this little town. There's a lot of potential here. And I've shopped here enough that I know things have, come and gone over the years. So I do want to talk a little bit about the downtown and the possibilities of what can be done. I've seen businesses come and go so much over the past few years. I've seen this be a Main Street, a very viable Main Street city, to now where it's not a Main Street city. It's just an affiliate now. Have either of you given thought about getting our Main Street status back to this community?
Absolutely. Is it okay if I go?
Same here.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we have more energy to give to that area, to that department for the city. And I think we've kind of went into a little lull there for a while as far as how we were concentrating our energies, and not necessarily how we were concentrating our funding. That I don't think that's an issue. It's concentrating the energy, making it a focus, reaching out as much as we possibly can to the community, and being more interactive as a department.
Yeah, I think it's, a primary emphasis in the future that we develop a sustainable downtown. It is what really attracts, one of the many attractions of Clarkesville, but it's what makes it unique. And I think attracting new businesses that are sustainable, that will contribute to increased flow in our downtown section, is going to be a high priority. I also think there's some opportunities that we could really take from other communities in revitalizing the downtown and the overall look and the flow. I really like what Cornelia's done with their over $1 million grant, the receipt of over $1 million grant to revitalize their downtown section. That came from a Appalachian Regional Council grant of over $1 million to really revitalize their downtown section. We have the people here in this town. We have many good people. They have great ideas, and there's other businesses that would love to relocate to a town with greater flow. I mean, we do have the benefit of being a major crossroads here. We got to keep them here, attract them and keep them here.
I've always said that we are not really a tourist town. We're just a tourist pass-through, but having that Main Street status does give us a lot of credibility. And losing that, is kind of a sad situation for us. And it would be nice if we got that seal of approval again.
Hazel, I think we're starting to build a foundation of that here. And, we saw a really good restaurant leave Harvest Habersham, but we've attracted a lot of new restaurants to the area. And one of the things, and we're getting a good foodie scene for a small town like Clarkesville. Our restaurants are really full. And it's like when it's not at the expense of the other restaurants. When you have a good food scene, you attract more people from outside. And so, I see a lot of faces I know in the restaurants, including Leigh, here, and a lot of other people from the town. But I would say the majority of the people I speak to at restaurants in the Clarkesville area come from the surrounding communities. So we are drawing people for the food part of it. We're doing a good job of that. Of course, we can always do better, but we need more businesses to attract people and stop them as they come through our city.
So moving right along, how do we retain businesses here? I know especially down on the lower end of Washington Street, we've seen so many businesses come and go over the year, and it just seems that, that inn cannot keep businesses. They're just not sustainable there for some reason or another. I don't think that the rents are that high down there, but people just don't seem to stay.
Right. I feel like that's part of the energy that I was discussing that drive in that Main Street department that would get our certifications back on par where we need to be, and would also aid in the promotions, us reaching out, capturing those people, and driving that downtown traffic, like Rick said. It's important that we drive the downtown traffic, that we capture the traffic, so that it's supporting these businesses. But I think a lot of that is when you come into downtown, our sidewalks, a lot of our aesthetics in downtown, they do not look warm and welcoming. They do not, in a lot of places, even look accessible. And from that, you attract people. When they pull in town and it looks kept, when it looks safe, when it looks together like we are inviting them and we are literally open for business, that's what's going to keep our shops and our restaurants in town and keep them full. When they're full and we are capturing that traffic and we've rolled out the welcome mat, we don't have to worry about them leaving. They'll have a good, sustainable business to support themselves.
I think very consistent hours would help a lot too.
Well, that too. We can't mandate those, but yes.
No, but I think it would help if they were encouraged a little bit.
But foot traffic will naturally do that.
Yeah,
though, Hazel.
it will.
Foot traffic will naturally dictate, hey, I can't be open only 4 hours every day of the week because there are too many customers. I can't fill their orders. I can't take care of everything that I need to. I can't do inventory, etc. And that will dictate itself on its own with the individual proprietor. But that being said, we have to look like we're here and we're ready and we want to keep them. We want them to stop and commune with us. We don't. And let me be clear. When I say sidewalks, I don't just mean the sidewalks. We have to be ready for them. We have to be ready for the businesses to bring them in and let them flourish here. And that is part of that infrastructure that does, yes, come in with sidewalks and help beautify, but we've got to be ready infrastructure-wise, all in all. Water, sewer, you name it, if it's a service to provide, a place that will be a safe haven for businesses, a place that they can depend on the services being quality and delivered on time, that's a huge capture, and that will help sustain the businesses.
Okay. Having brought infrastructure up, I do want to talk about that. We seem to have a lot of boil water alerts here in Clarkesville. Just recently, a brand new restaurant had to close for 2 days up on Grant Street because of a boil water alert. And this is devastating to a brand new restaurant. It's their employees can't work. They can't, make money. And it just doesn't feel right. Just like you said, it doesn't feel right if people can't stay open. If the sidewalks aren't there, in a way. But this is devastating to our town. Here we're looking to, there's buildings going on. There's houses being built here. But do we have the infrastructure? There's a new subdivision going in off Rocky Branch Road. How is the infrastructure going to withstand these homes when they can't withstand the building that's going on right now?
Hazel, it is insufficient to handle our future growth. There's no doubt about it. We've kicked the can down the road too many years in this city, and done a lot of fixes to problems in addition to boil water alerts. My property alone, I've had 4 sewage spills into the Sequoia River. This type of thing should not be happening. We are a small town with a fire department, a police department, a city hall presence, a water treatment plant, a sewage treatment plant. We need significant upgrades in our overall infrastructure, as well as sidewalks and roads. So my thought process is it's hard to burden our existing taxpayers with those type of expenses. I'm paying more in property taxes here than I did in Forsyth County in a home that was twice as expensive. So that burden is a huge burden that all small towns face. And I will say that there is a significant amount of grant funding available from both the EPA, the USDA, and the state of Georgia. Millions and millions of dollars of grants and low interest loans or 0% interest loans are available to us. We have to go get them. It's so important that we go get those grants. Just like Baldwin did, $1.25 million to upgrade their sewage treatment and water treatment facility system. We literally have a lot of issues with our current system, and to be able to get ready for the development that we know is coming, and then just to repair our current infrastructure, it's going to take a lot of extra funding. So I've looked into a lot of these grants. We also have some pretty talented individuals here locally that are civil engineers, ex-governors. Sonny Perdue owns the land across from me. Nathan Deal lives in the county. We should be tapping into those individuals, as well as really making grant writing a priority for the city, just to get ready. And then assessing what is the impact of new construction and making sure that they share in infrastructure improvements for their specific development. That's common practice. Literally, it's the tap fee in Forsyth County is $13,000 per house. Yeah.
And I agree with that. The fact that we have delayed and have not implemented a plan for tap fees for the development that's coming in, it's just wrong. We've tried so long to be the nice guys, to play nice because we were a small town, but it's to the point where we've been taken advantage of. So the tap fees coming in, absolutely. And you know what? If we end up with any of the bigger development projects, well, part of them coming in and developing needs to be that we get some trade-off in there, that we get some sort of an investment into our system to help us stabilize, not just to tolerate the business and the impact on our services and systems that they bring in, but to help improve us. So, you know, you mentioned the project on Rocky Branch Road. That's my road. That's where I live. So yes, it's going to be an impact. A couple of things. Number one, everybody was, can your system, we don't have the sewer, we don't have the water, The answer to that is yes, we do have the capacity right this minute. What we don't have is a sustainable system down the road. It's not there. So yes, we're bringing in the ones that we have now that we've committed to, but I think there's a serious turn that needs to be made as far as the prioritization of the infrastructure system, and let's just bite it off. I agree, apply for those grants every which way we can. If the grant payoff is huge, the no interest or low interest loans are huge, and that combination can certainly help us. But I believe that the investors that are coming in here to park money and to develop, and that are going to make money from the business that they're coming in with, I believe they need to help us with the infrastructure too. We need some sort of trade-off from these folks coming in that will help sustain us. The water treatment plant, that system and the water service is great. What's wrong with that system are the lines. And we are an extremely old town, an extremely aged infrastructure system. We have terracotta pipelines, terracotta pipes. So the water outages come from roots growing into them, or the terracotta deteriorates and cracks, or the ground shifts so the terracotta doesn't line up and connect properly, etc. They've replaced, about 2 miles of that and repaired about 2 miles of that. But it's still there, and it still has to be dealt with. We have to continue to do that, and that part has got to be overhauled as much as we possibly can, and as painless as we can to the taxpayers and to the business owners that we have. But I will also say that the sewer system, while it is maintaining what we have right now, yes, we're having failures. There are some major parts of the system, I'm going to say the majority of the system, that has to be absolutely overhauled, hands down. We can't go further from where we are right now. It's got to be overhauled. Now, there are some serious engineering contracts that are going on right now where they are re-engineering, giving us perspectives. The city's engaged in that currently as far as giving us a look down the road. Absolutely, technically, this has got to happen, etc. And those are coming up, and we will apply for grants for that as a city. But the bottom line is that's just one other segment of the sewer system. Honestly, if you go tour the sewer system and you look at the age of the system, the whole thing needs to be overhauled to go from here into the future.
We've had pretty much the same people in office for a very long time, for years. Why have they not done something? I mean, there's nothing we can go back and do anything, about this. So obviously it's time to have new people come in, but this didn't happen overnight. I mean, some of these pipes may go back, I hate to say this, to the 1800s, but it is a problem. I mean, and I'm just going to say this, the water sucks in Clarkesville. I mean, it smells and it tastes terrible. I mean, that's why we're all drinking bottled water, which is terrible for you. But, something needs to be done before we keep putting houses and keep putting buildings up in here. So I think that everybody agrees on that. Would either one of you support a county-wide system? and give up your fire department and go with the county fire department or a countywide water system or sewage system. Has that ever been a consideration?
So I think that needs to be studied carefully. But I will say, for example, I think our systems work as an overlay right now. We've been able to receive, I think, Demarest water at some point in time when our water treatment plant was being updated. But I don't know. I mean, I would have to actually, I think that we would need to study that type of thing. But right now, services do overlap, I think, beneficially. One of the areas that we have in Clarksville specifically is we are a major crossroads. I like having the sheriff's department here in addition to our police department. So there may be some efficiencies coordinating with the county for sure. I'm not thinking, or I don't know whether we should examine that idea. We have an established infrastructure. I think what we can address these issues. We do have sewage treatment problems and sewage line problems right now on Rocky Branch where I live. So we are seeing regular spills into Rocky Branch because our current system can't handle that. So we do need to address it. I know engineering studies are underway. We have a lot of water intrusion, runoff intrusion into our system as well too. This happens when there's major floods, and we've had, I don't know, like 10 since 25. I know because it floods part of my backyard, which is a floodplain. And so that's a key concern. Our sewage system is not supposed to be taking stormwater. So are there improvements we can do right now? Probably. We can do right now while we're lining up funds smartly so we don't burden the current residents of Clarksville. Again, the idea of new development coming in, there are certain areas where the sewer lines are good and acceptable, like servicing downtown and the potential townhomes that are going to be built near the old funeral home site.
I will say this to your question. We've had the sewer issue for a long, long, long time. Now, the system has been highly rated, even award-winning, in the past decades. And it has, because it is absolutely maintained as close as it can be maintained by the size city that we are. We're tiny. What never happened is enough big dollar investment along the way to bring different aspects up of the sewer system to keep us from being in a situation right now where we're on the brink of it not being functional if there were a catastrophe. If the investments had been made at a higher level along the way with folks at the helm, we wouldn't be in the position we're in where we're having to overhaul the whole system. It would, yes, we would still need, you're always going to have the maintenance. You're always going to have technology upgrades, the earth adjustments, et cetera. You're always going to have to do that regular maintenance for the systems. But right now we're in a position where the whole system needs an overhaul. And that is a horrible position to be in with a tiny town that literally is roughly 2.5 square miles with a very tiny amount of the citizens that are actually footing the bill in downtown for a large demographic that reaches outside of the city limits. That's a horrible place to be in going through the future, and we're too vulnerable.
So what would you do to help solve that problem?
We have to reprioritize our to-do list. We've had a lot of things that have happened over the years, and I know one thing that happened when I did a turn on city council. When you're preparing for major projects like that, it's huge. It takes up personnel to be able to manage the grants on the back end. It takes up your public works departments. It takes a lot of focus and energy and cost out of the regular general budget, and the enterprise budget. But what I think has happened, we had things happen like the big fire downtown that we had with a goodly portion of downtown destroyed. You have big things like that come up, and yes, that needed to be taken care of. But from that, we should have turned our direction straight into infrastructure and continued that major progress. And we've had a lot of things that the city has done, but they're small projects. They're mostly like a beautification of some sort, and that's not helping the infrastructure. So I think we have to reprioritize big time what our project list is and take that to the front of the helm, get it done, get it upgraded. We're ready to go, and our citizens don't suffer in any way, shape, form, or fashion for the services that they are absolutely paying a boatload of tax money for, because we're just a 2.5 square mile tax-paying base.
Rick, how would you address that?
Well, first of all, I would definitely address it by, again, I mentioned this already, grant funding would be one of the key issues. First of all, we have engineering studies going on. Those engineering studies are the foundation of a grant that you do apply for. As far as administering of grants, we actually have a partial head count to help write grants, but I'd put together a independent committee to help write these grants. When it comes to administration of grants, if you get let's say a $1.5 million grant, about maybe 8 to 10% of that goes to admin fees. And it can actually even be higher than that. That funds a head count, incremental head count that actually just focuses on that effort, which means accounting. When you receive grant funding, that actually that's accretive. It adds to the city budget and can actually defer costs of other city personnel. So that's a very important thing. So we're doing the studies right now of our current sewage system and water system. We need to make sure that we consistently invest, consistently write grants to maintain our infrastructure. You can't take a lull. This has to be all the time. I will say the city has invested a lot of money in sewage infrastructure. I'm on a property that used to be owned by the city. The mayor of Clarkesville, Ken Cleveland. In my desk, there was a secret drawer that popped out, and out come the sewer plans from 1988 when we replaced all the terracotta and we put in a major sewage line right through my yard. So I know we've invested in the time. It hasn't been enough. It hasn't been consistent. It has to be an ongoing thing. Our water department is pretty cool. We actually make money by servicing residences outside of the city. It's actually a profit generator. They pay a higher rate for city services. That's a good thing. And then adding tap fees on in addition to, these are all creative things. These are all things we add on. So additional revenue from development around Clarksville, and then additional revenue from tap fees. We have 60 undeveloped acres here in Clarksville.
Right.
So making sure that we cover part of that infrastructure cost with tap fees, so that doesn't burden the current citizens of the city of Clarksville. It actually could be a good thing and lower costs, and then layer on top of that grant fees. So right now we could start collecting tap fees, and that should all go right back into infrastructure, both water and sewer. And then we need to fix our water plant because we have issues. Pumps are going out. Filters are going bad. I mean, we do have, even though we've made a major investment in the past in that water plant and upgrading it, we need to stay on top of that too and make sure that's properly funded. So there are sources of income that just do not need to be borne by the, 800 households in the city that are paying property taxes, and prepare for the future and pay for the future. But it has to be every year. It has to be a high priority.
Yeah, I mean, these are ongoing projects. They don't go away.
Yeah.
I mean, these fees don't go away. The infrastructure doesn't go away. It can't be ignored. Things just, keep stacking up, and the taxes keep increasing every year. I mean, we hear about it, and it's like we can't do anything about it. It's all over, the county, every city. And, if you live in the city limits of any city, you're paying practically double taxes.
Absolutely.
So thank goodness I live out in the county because I've heard some of the nightmare stories. Having said all of this, with all the growth, with all the infrastructure issues that you have, and all the things that Clarksville has on, and all the building that's happening, one of the big things is the courthouse project. Can the city of Clarksville afford to do anything on the courthouse project when they have all of these other issues?
Well, and that's another thing, when we talk about things that have diverted the budget focus in other directions other than a deep dive into the sewer system, for example. The fact that the courthouse property came available and it's right in the primary part of our downtown. Back to the point of grants, back to the point of low interest loans, all of that can be applied to that project as well and managed tightly. But that's another opportunity for whoever the developer is to come down, and it's a bargaining chip. You come in downtown, here's what we have to offer, here's how wonderful it is here, but you need to invest something to help with our systems, our infrastructure, if you're coming into town. Pay an increment. I don't care. Pick a spot, in the sewer system, pay for what that is. If that is the pumps, if that's the filters, for filtration, whatever that is, we need, as Clarksville, we need this in our system. Do something in the negotiation when these businesses are coming in up front, and let's benefit the citizens that are already here and reduce their tax burden as far as investing in a lot of these repairs that have to happen into the infrastructure. But I will say this, for right this second, does that need to be developed right this second? I don't think so. I don't know that I would love to have a boutique hotel, don't get me wrong, but it's got to have a couple of things. It's got to have some retail and or restaurant to generate foot traffic in town and to help support the developer and the project of whoever's going to build it, number one. But number two, we don't have what it would take right now, I don't think, to fill the beds at capacity that a developer would have to have in that investment to be able to get a return. That being said, that can sit there. It's cleared out. If they just level it out, make it a little more a nice lawn so that we can have events until the foreseeable future, that's great. Let's divert project attention to the infrastructure system first, and let's take care of that, alleviate a lot of the pressure on the existing taxpayers, and then we can support the new building and projects that are coming in town that will help with foot traffic. But first, I think we have to stop letting other projects jump in the hopper and get in front of some of this investment that's got to take place.
Right.
Well, I'd like to see both happen, and that's not that develop that property immediately. I think finding the right retailers or use of that is going to be that property is extremely important. That is such a large element of our downtown section, a good chunk of our real estate. So we have to make sure we have the right occupants and the right developers attracted to that spot. I think we can, again, do both at the same time if we do it right. So, I mean, I think a focus on infrastructure and development are important things because they kind of go hand in hand. The revenue sources for the city and offsetting the costs, as well as the costs of our infrastructure and preparing us for the future. And then that actually has a global impact on all these buildings. You know, we had a phenomenal world-class plan actually created for downtown Clarksville by a world-class city planning organization who's right here in our downtown section, Lou Oliver. And so I think we can take a lot of learnings from that as we're applying for infrastructure, but we don't have to look at just infrastructure alone and then development. I think we have to look at them both at the same time. And we have to have the right people executing those programs. We have them here in our community. So I think they have to be executed well, though. And it can't be a sloppy plan on either side. They have to be executed well. We need to surround ourselves with the best people. The best people are always going to execute the best plan. But I will say that our downtown, without a courthouse, without the old funeral home, has an it factor. It does have a unique it factor. And I think it's like I lived in Colorado for a long time. And at first I fell in love with the mountains. And I loved the mountains, but I didn't appreciate the mountains because they were there all the time. Well, the city center is so cool. It really is. And when people come here from outside, my family, friends, just visitors, they see this downtown section and they're just like, wow, that is cool. That is a really cool town. Yeah, we can improve the downtown section for sure. And I think, again, we have the people here in town to execute that and make that happen. So I'd like to see both happen at the same time, but both happen right. Not another, kick the can down the road fix on one little section of the sewage system and then, maybe a poorly executed downtown plan. I'd like to, we've got to do them both right and make sure we attract the right people. And they're here in our town.
I think if I may, yes, they both need to happen. I'm not sure that doing them succinctly works for Clarksville. I love the concept of that we could move forward uniformly. I'm not sure that will not overwhelm and we won't get, as they say, our skis above our head. I think because we're so tiny, don't get me wrong, this is a fabulous town, or we wouldn't have migrated here as we did 20-something years ago. But we've had a tendency, because we have such a tiny tax base, of extending ourselves a little far out there, and the budget gets very thin, which is not safe in this day and time. We need a good base of an emergency fund in town, and I don't feel like there's a way to keep that solid emergency fund, given, unfortunately, how life is right now and some of the circumstances that the world presents us with right now. I don't know that there's a way to do that much all at once. I want it to all happen. Don't get me wrong. I want all of it to happen. I want it to be lovely around here, but I want to maintain that charm and the security for the current residents that already live here. And I think we'll have to pace ourselves a little bit tighter than that, so that we don't feel insecure about that, and our citizens don't worry that, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? You're doing all of this. I think we need to keep them a little more comfortable. I think there are ways that we could make the current residents that are already here more comfortable and make their services better for them and improve their quality of life before we pile project on project on project. I just think we're going to have to take a little bit more gradual approach. I want it to be here, and I love the fact that we have attracted so much talent to our town, and I'm clamoring to work with them all. But we have to do it comfortably for the citizens that are here.
Okay. we're just about out of time. But I do want to say one thing that concerns me is the cleanup of Pitts Park. I have seen that be a really lovely park to become something that's been flooded so many times over the past few years. Leigh, you and I have been here a long time, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I mean, it's been a great park, and then it's been a sandy beach. And I would love to see something done about that, because it's a great place to have concerts and picnics and all kinds of things. Is that not a priority?
Sure.
It's a great place.
Yeah.
Is there any way, either one of you, I don't know, maybe you're not, as adamant about getting that place fixed as I am, is that not a priority? Is there not something that can be done about that very quickly so that the kids have a place to play?
I totally agree with you. Yes, it has flourished in the past, and it has stumbled greatly in the recent years. And predominantly, that is from the overflow from the river, because we've had, we're talking way beyond 100-year floods that have come through town in the last 5 years. It's been flood after flood after flood. That requires some engineering and a project plan to control that overflow that's in that low-lying area. So that has to be a priority. There is a nonprofit that has started up in town that wants to help, gather donations and whatever the like, to go ahead and start paying for an engineering plan and a layout to better design the park to protect it from that. But also, in addition to that, the park has always needed better access for folks downtown. We need better connectivity. And there is an eye on that project as well, being able to open up a pathway where you don't have to walk down to Bridge Street and go down. You can just migrate straight from downtown, from whatever activity you're doing, and right down into the park. So that's another aspect of beautifying and making it more accessible and functional to the current citizens that live here. It's absolutely has to be taken care of. It's a health issue. It's a lot of issues. It's a huge safety issue with the flooding. When you have reports of jet skis going through our city park because it's flooded again, that's kind of a problem. People kayaking across the park, that's kind of a problem. But, and we also need it from the protection of the waterway as well. We don't need all of the sand base and everything flushing out into the park. We don't need all of what's in the park, possible, pesticides, lawn fertilization, the whole 9 yards, that when that water starts receding, going back into our river source, we don't need that either. So from a lot of levels, that project has got to be done. And it's going to have to be done gradually. It didn't start overnight, and it's not going to be repaired overnight. And that also will be a grant management issue. Absolutely. And that could be grant from the EPA. There are a lot of grants. There are grants just for our town because of the age of our community that we can apply for, because we're a more senior community.
Thank you for aging us both.
Well, I guess we're the second oldest city in North Georgia as far as the population goes. But I think Pitts Park is a real gem, and it's a spot that can really draw our community together. We have had a series of unprecedented floods, and that's in a floodplain. So I think, one, we've got to rapidly recover when there's a flood, clean it up, make sure we replant the grass. So some of that basic maintenance, should fall on the city's head. Replant the grass, and then evaluate the best way to manage floodwaters in that area. A lot of that sand's not coming from Pitts Park. It's coming from upriver.
Right.
And so I've been involved in the Sequoia Watershed Association, and I've helped recently write the first grant that's kind of like the foundation of the watershed plan. It's another area. And the cool thing about the city is we've raised a lot of funds with other organizations to get things done. We're kind of a scrappy city, and I love the way we are scrappy about some things. When it comes to recovery from our fire, micro grants or small grants from that, to the Sequoia Watershed Association addressing the Rocky Branch runoff and then addressing hot spots. And part of that is you have to do a watershed plan first.
Right.
Then you have to execute it, and there's grants that go on top of that, but you have to have that first part. So we've actually been able to receive that. That grant has been awarded. It's going to fund a larger plan, which we can then go and apply for grants. There are National Forest Service grants that are monitored by the state of Georgia that are accessible that we can apply for. Again, it's part of this engineering study that's going on. We do that, and then we address it and apply for the grant. So one is triage after a storm has to happen, because I don't like my grandkids playing in the park with lots of sand. Well, they don't want to go there. Now, the Sequoia Watershed Association also did a really great job in the Greenway project. I mean, it is amazing. If you haven't been to that area, that's what Pitts Park that's what we could do there. That too is a flood zone, and it's being used in the appropriate way for a flood zone. The pickleball courts are above most of the flood water. The pavilion's been moved is going to be moved to a higher area. We need to look at, the use of Pitts Park, engineering to correct the problem in the future, and then triage after a flood, because, and then see what we can do to address all the sediment that's coming from upriver. The one thing about the Sequoia River that's a really cool thing is it's not dammed. Great trout fishing. The bad thing is it's not dammed. So you can't control floodwater.
That's correct.
So that's our constant issue, and I'm constantly dealing with that on my property. I have banks falling in, and I'm having to repair them, and et cetera. So it affects everybody, I think.
I'm all for fixing the Sequoia, bringing our park back.
Yeah.
I want to thank both of you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Congratulations again for both putting your hat in the ring. I wish both of you the best of luck. And I encourage everybody listening to get out there and vote on November 4th. And thank you for listening to Red, White, and Views. Make sure that you contact both of these people, Rick Coulon and Leigh Johnston, if you have any questions about their race for Clarkesville Post 4. And thanks again for listening. You can find us on Now Habersham, Spotify, and on YouTube.